KPIX5 has learned some pot from Bay Area dispensaries contains a powerful pesticide so toxic, even the tobacco companies won't touch it. Only on 5 tonight, Wilson Walker puts local pot to the test.
Cannot tell by looking at your cannabis whether it's contaminated with pesticides, residual solvents, molds.
Want to know exactly what's in your marijuana?
This particular instrument here is a liquid chromatograph.
Just ask the team at Steep Hill Labs.
We see that cannabis that comes through the lab is often would have to be destroyed in other states.
And that's because states like Oregon, Washington, Massachusetts, and Colorado have either set limits on or banned certain pesticides for use on marijuana. And tonight, we're going to focus on just one of them.
But yeah, so myclobutanil is a fungicide. It's for mildew, molds and mildew.
Myclobutanil, often sold under the name Eagle 20, is approved for use on things like grapes and hops because if you happen to eat some of it, it's considered harmless. But if you set fire to myclobutanil,
if you smoke it, if you heat it, it actually can produce a substance called hydrogen cyanide. Hydrogen cyanide is very toxic to humans.
That's exactly why the federal government prohibits the use of Eagle 20 on tobacco. But remember, California currently has no such pesticide rules when it comes to medical marijuana.
So yeah, people have an expectation that the stuff that they get at dispensaries is going to be safe and clean and well tested. But the fact of the matter is that this is an unregulated environment up till now.
So how much Eagle 20 might you find on California's medical marijuana? Well, we purchased samples from 5 different Bay Area dispensaries. And since not everyone gets their marijuana from a dispensary, we also arranged for the acquisition of some marijuana sold on the street. Then we sent it all off to the lab.
Only one of those 6 had no detectable pesticides.
That's right, just one clean dispensary sample, while 3 more had enough pesticide traces to make them test failures in Massachusetts or Nevada. Now, our black market sample, it failed on 9 different pesticide tests.
That's somewhat unusual to have that many hits on one sample.
But if you're thinking the street weed was the dirtiest, guess again, because our last dispensary sample, a product sold as medicine, was far and away the most contaminated, with myclobutanil levels at more than 13 times the amount allowable under Oregon law.
The main ingredient, myclobutanil, of Eagle 20.
But now the clock is ticking for California to come up with its own safety standards. What pesticides will be allowed, at what levels, and how will it all be tested for safe consumption?
There hasn't been the level of rigor applied to the industry that's coming down the pike.
Because as of now, most of California's marijuana is being grown, no questions asked. And the result is plenty of products you would probably rather not smoke.
Yeah, unfortunately, without any regulations requiring testing, it's up to the purveyor whether they want to or not, and it's basically caveat emptor, right? Let the buyer beware.
Is your pot making you ill? For decades, people have been smoking weed without any side effects, but now people are coming down with CHS, or extreme nausea and vomiting, which turns out to be related to the cyanide growers are adding to the weed.
In states where pot is legal, doctors are seeing an increase in a violent illness. Dr. John LaPook takes a look.
I thought I was dying.
For more than 2 years, Lance Crowder was having severe abdominal pain and vomiting. No local doctor could figure out why. Finally, an emergency room physician in Indianapolis had an idea.
And the first question he asked is if I was taking hot showers to find relief. When he asked me that question, I basically fell into tears because I knew he had an answer.
The answer? Cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, or CHS. It's caused by heavy, long-term use of various forms of marijuana. For unclear reasons, the nausea and vomiting are relieved by hot showers or baths.
The question remains, why is this happening? Is it the nutrients growers are using, the pesticides, fungicides, or other additives? The answer is simple. Somebody is spiking the weed with a killer additive, and it's now affecting millions of people nationwide. And it sounds just like another chapter from the Georgia Guidestones, like how they're spiking the food and water with harmful chemicals. And now they're spiking the weed. It's because THC activates the third eye in people's brains. It opens up their minds to the corruption, to the evil that's around them. The system knows this, and so they're spiking the weed to keep people asleep. Sounds rather perplexing, doesn't it? And while we don't recommend people smoke weed, we know it's now being used to weed out the herd. Major corporations are supplying the additives and chemicals used to grow the weed, and it's becoming a silent killer in its own right. And it's being sprayed day and night, even on cigarettes. Who's going to care if smokers are being poisoned? If you're feeling the CHS, the nausea, and the like, it isn't you, it's the poisons being sprayed on the products you buy. It's no different than the fruits and vegetables at the grocery store. No different than the municipal water supply. We need more transparency when it comes to the additives they're spraying on the products we buy. Help raise awareness, like and share this video, and if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.